Please be aware this will be a spoiler-filled discussion. Hello, and welcome to the Minority Arts Appreciation Society, where we're ticking all the boxes. I'm Matty, and I lead the film discussions.
I'm Josh, and I lead the music discussions.
And we're back with special guest and our special artist, Scarlett David Gray. How are you, my dear?
Hi, I'm good. Thank you for having me back.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. We wanted to fight you, you know, we wanted more of an argument than last time.
Oh yeah. Well, no, last time it was me and Josh against you, so we'll see.
That's true. Who knows? You know, on the Minority Arts Appreciation Society, the turntables turn with the tides. You never know where you can stand.
We're all on the same team ultimately.
And yeah,
us as here.
At the end of the day, we're all on the side of good discourse. Ain't that right?
Indeed.
Yeah.
Can I get an amen?
Oof, amen.
Amen.
Jesus is king. So Maddie, what film are we talking about today?
So today, my good buddy Josh, we're talking about Aladdin, the 90s Aladdin, the original Aladdin. This was, of course, the 2D animated classic.
The only Aladdin, you mean?
Yeah, right? Yeah, the original and the final Aladdin. I'll give it more of an introduction when we get on to talking about it. But of course, Aladdin was part of something much bigger, and that was the 90s renaissance of Disney animation. This was largely headed by the directors Musker and Clements, who are responsible for Aladdin, Hercules, The Little Mermaid, Treasure Planet, which is, I know, controversial, but it exists.
There was no need to throw Treasure Planet under the bus like that. You could have just kept reading the list.
Hey,
that felt targeted.
No, I represent the facts, and the facts are it's controversial.
The facts are it shouldn't be.
Well, and The Great Mouse Detective, who
I like The Great Mouse Detective.
I have not seen The Great Mouse Detective.
Well, I guess
They're detectives. It's very exciting.
So Scarlett, like you've telling us you've been going on like a Disney binge on Disney Plus recently.
Literally, like over the past 2 days, so not really much of a binge, but I tried.
And you've kind of come to the realization that they very much have a formula, right?
Oh my god, yeah, completely. Like, woman doesn't really want to get married, goes on some level of adventure with a small male fishy / animal-esque friend.
Fishy?
They always seem to be like fish related. Maybe that's just the first thing in my head because the last one I watched was Little Mermaid.
But, okay.
Yeah, always some sort of animal sidekick, and then they come back and they realize, actually, no, I should be in love with a man.
Can I just first ask you which specific films you've watched?
So I watched The Little Mermaid. I watched Mulan. I watched Aladdin, obviously,
Obviously.
Hercules, my favourite, which I would say does not follow that trope, even though she does end up with him in the end.
Yeah, instead it does something worse.
No criticism of my favourite.
Well, one thing that's interesting about Aladdin is, especially like setting it in Arabia. I don't know if did it become Saudi Arabia.
There is no proper place that it's set. It's set in like Agbad or like
Agrabah. It's
that's
completely fictionalized.
Well, they're all white people anyway, so it's fine.
Yeah, that's why I didn't realize all of the voice actors were white as well. I mean,
Yeah.
I shouldn't have been surprised, but
I wasn't surprised. Non-white voice actors weren't introduced until the mid-2000s, as it's well known. So, it seems like what's interesting about Aladdin is she actually because it's in that setting where like the problem is arranged marriage. She does want to get married. She just doesn't want to be like married off to like some old guy. So I'm actually like more okay with the formula in Aladdin than maybe films where like it seems like they generally don't want to be married and then they learn the power of love.
But don't you think that is what happened in Aladdin? Because she was like, I don't want to marry any of those guys. She didn't really seem to have any express interest in true love, apart from that bit where she's like holding the dove and she's like, I want to marry for love. But like,
Isn't that an express
how-
interest in true love, though?
okay, maybe I'm wrong.
This is Disney characterization as well. I'm not criticizing it. I'm not doing anything, but Disney does have an incredible knack for taking a line and a very well done visually communicated element like the doves and using it to establish a character arc.
Yeah, that's
so.
Okay, I take it back.
Yeah. Well, one thing interesting I want to touch on is like the modern Disney formula, and like I really like films like Tangled and Frozen. Like I know like Let It Go and stuff has been played to death, but I still think those are good films. And like the modern Disney formula seems to be vaguely the same thing, but like hyper woke.
Yes,
like
completely.
Brave. And like sometimes it's cool. Like I really like the kind of sisterly love message at the end of Frozen, for example. But yeah, how do you guys feel about kind of like the modern update to this kind of 90s formula?
So I'll talk about this. I'll talk about the 90s when I talk about Aladdin. But I think what Disney does modernly is solve problems that aren't really there. Or otherwise they're plaster solutions over major rifts in storytelling. So like, for example, Scarlett brings up like, hey, like 90s, the 90s weren't a long time ago, and there was a dominance in Disney storytelling about where women are centered around marriage, and like they don't really fix that. They throw in like some funny lines. I think Frozen's a good example because like in story the resolution is sisterly love. But in Tangled, like it's like some funny lines, and it's like, okay, I'll never be okay with like corporations throwing in funny jokes and laughing at things they did and being like, haha, weren't we goofy?
Yeah.
And it's like, just move on, just acknowledge what it was and move on.
I would say, I think, like, I understand the point you're making. To me, it feels like that applies more to the live action remakes than it does to the animated.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, just because I've actually not seen any new Disney films apart from Disney Pixar ones, and then also Tangled. Like, I haven't seen Moana, I haven't seen Frozen.
Yeah. To be honest, like they are generally as good as the 90s stuff, if not better. Like honestly, Princess and the Frog is
I've seen that.
tier Disney, like easy for me. So I think they have improved in many ways. Moana's story was a bit bland, but it definitely got away from the problem of like her life revolving around marriage. Like she is just Moana out there fucking shit up, and it's dope. Like,
yeah, those shots of her on the ocean are like so visually powerful, and that's what you need. That's what you need is a story about the thing rather than a line about the thing.
I see what you mean.
And I think because what I really don't want to do is poison our actual Aladdin discussion with discussions of the remake. But yeah, you could say like that the remake of Aladdin improves upon Aladdin by like giving Jasmine her own song. But there's something about the fact that you didn't just write a story, you just kind of threw a song in. Like, what you could have done is but by doing a remake, you could have done something actually artistic and rework the story, and maybe make it more empowering. Because it's a remake, you're allowed to do whatever the hell you want. If you're reworking entire visual elements, you have absolute power to rework entire story elements as well. So why not do that? Instead, no, they throw in a pop song that doesn't fit the tone and doesn't fit the musical beats of the rest of the film.
I guess like what's interesting about Disney now is it's this whole thing about like corporate wokeness, and Disney is kind of like so neurotically aware of their shortcomings that it's hard. Yeah, it's hard to know if we should take this as valuable improvements or just like weird sort of lampshading. Like a great example of this is WreckIt Ralph 2, WreckIt Ralph Breaks the Internet, where there's literally a scene where Sarah Silverman's character, who's like a very like tomboyish kind of like very unprincessy character, becomes a princess, and like by accident, or I think she just is a princess, and like she meets all the old princesses, and they all like make fun of like, did he save you and try to take all the credit for it, or
did he kidnap you?
Yeah,
like
I've seen that.
all the haha Disney's bad jokes, and it's like, I don't know if this is progress or not, or like scary corporate companies who are so self-aware and like, haha, we're on your side, consumer, to a point where like you can't fight against it anymore.
That was done as a deliberate bit for social media, I think. I think that because it went quite like a bit viral when it was released in the trailer, or when they released that clip before.
Oh, that's so true.
Came out. It's not just that you have the first part where you have all of these iconic princesses in one place, which is obviously good marketing and 100% why that scene was written in. But then you have the added thing again, corporate wokeness, where it's like, no, we're not just profiteering off our 100 odd years of really successful sexist stereotypes. We know that we're doing that, so it's fine. But then they used it as a marketing ploy simultaneously.
Bro.
See, what I want now is a Birds of Prey type film with all the Disney princesses. I would be 100% down for that.
Bro, that was so woke. I can like literally see the Yas Queen like retweets of gifs of the Disney princesses in that room right now. Fuck. But yeah, I think we are ready to move on to our discussion of Aladdin. Dun dun dun. I think it's really important to give this a bit of backstory. Like Lindsay Ellis has done this very well in her numerous videos on 90s Disney, but this is the third feature-length animated film from Clements and Musker, the animation directing duo, Aladdin. This was essentially them on their path to making the film they really wanted to make, which is Treasure Planet, which is so bizarre, so funny, but hey-ho. And so this is an Arabian Nights inspired epic about a roguish young man with a good heart who just wants to get the girl. But he needs to learn the lessons to do so. So we've got all kinds of beats. We've got happy beats. We've got downtrodden beats. We've got the whole Disney package. The very reason I picked this film was because in a Discord chat I'm gonna out you, Scarlett. I'm sorry.
No, please. Okay.
In a Discord chat, we were talking about what films to pick, and we talked about Hercules, and that brought us to Aladdin. And Scarlett just outright said, I don't like Aladdin. And now, I think, like, opinions being, like, as long as they're not held in bad faith or from ignorance, are, like, always valid, and, like, you should never completely tear someone's opinion down. But that opinion makes no sense to me.
I can't believe that. I would just say my opinion has not changed since I've watched the movie this again.
Okay. But to carry on with my philosophy of opinions, I do want to understand why that, because it's fascinating to me. I'll get into my opinions properly in a minute. I want to know where Josh is coming from right now.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, so I rewatched this very recently for the podcast, and I, as a kid, I remember this being like my favorite Disney film of that era, and returning to it. I haven't really watched it for quite a few years, but yeah, I really enjoyed it this time around. I still really love this movie. Just like some blanket criticisms, I don't really like the animation style of this Disney era. I think the characters are drawn in a really flat and bland way, and lots of the film is visually uninteresting for me. But it really shines when you get those huge kind of landmark shots of, like, for example, the opening shot of Arabian Nights crescendo, and then you see the palace. It's gorgeous. Seeing the Cave of Wonders, I think that's what it's called. seeing the princess's balcony, like those shots are amazing. But whenever you're like close up to a character's face and they're talking, I normally don't like that. And this is being made alongside like Ghibli in their prime. Films like Akira had already came out. Like, there's really no excuse for bad animation other than not wanting to spend money. I guess they spent it all on Robin Williams. But yeah, I think one thing that makes this film hard to interrogate at points is, at its core, it's a love story. So even though there are, in my opinion, really interesting themes running throughout about oppression and emancipation, like you get kind of three narratives of that, where Jasmine is oppressed on a social level, Aladdin's oppressed on a kind of economic level, class level, and the genie is like a wage slave, right? So he wants freedom in the sense that he doesn't want to work anymore. And these are all like really interesting threads that I really enjoy, like for the most part of the film. But just by like virtue of being a romance at its core, it doesn't really come up with satisfying conclusions for any of these, apart from Genie, who just gets to leave and it's dope. But everyone else kind of just like falls in love, and it sort of like fixes everything by osmosis. So it doesn't seriously address these kind of themes, but overall, I really enjoyed how they're woven throughout the film, and I still really love the film. But yeah, I think the kind of that core element is a limitation for it.
So I'll just lay out my feelings for the film as well, to be clear. For me, this is a love letter to simplicity, and a commitment to the simplicity of storytelling. I think the characters are so wonderfully simply drawn out that you can immediately connect with them in so many different ways from your own life experience. But fortunately, what Mosca and Clements really understand is that cinema is meant to elevate simplicity. So I definitely do agree with you, Josh. There are moments, especially in the facial animation, where it does just literally look wrong. Which is unfortunate, but at the same time, there are a million moments where every frame is accentuating something a character is saying or an emotion that the music is throwing at you, and it's gorgeous. And I love this type of filmmaking where the writers and the directors know that the audience is with you and they're there, so they don't stop to question whether or not you're going to continue being invested. They throw you in with it, and by the end, you feel like so participatory in this journey. It's wonderful, and I do agree with you, Josh. This film, unfortunately, isn't quite puritanical in its simplicity, because it does throw out these interesting questions of the genie's freedom, and what that actually means. I feel another element that's a little bit rushed is Aladdin and Genie's relationship. I do still really feel it, and when they hug at the end, it's like extremely touching. But I feel like it maybe needed a little more time in the oven, writing wise.
It needed like the Lion King Hakuna Matata montage.
No, exactly. Like, you have such a great Genie introduction, but I never really feel like you get a great Aladdin and Genie introduction. But to get back to my point, I think that this is, again, a piece of commitment, and it's wonderful for it.
Well, the thing is, I don't necessarily think either of you are wrong. Like, I can see how the film can appeal to you in the ways that you've described, but I just didn't feel like that. And I really tried to go into it with an open mind, because I knew before, like, I didn't have that connection to it in the way that I do with a lot of other Disney films, because I was very much a Disney kid. Like, I've tried to interrogate the reasons why I don't like this film. I think it comes down to a lack of connection with the characters, where I find... So, for example, Aladdin. I'm like, oh, you've got a nice opening sequence. You do some dancing. Then you go, and I'm meant to feel sorry for you because you're poor and you're staying in this thing. But, I mean, that sounds awful, because that sounds like I don't like
I'm meant to feel sorry for you because you're poor?
I just didn't. I didn't ever feel like all the things that were signifiers to understand the characters and their emotions worked for me, and I don't know why. I mean,
That's
like
interesting.
I've really tried to understand.
I think I hate to pull the identity card. But like as a kid, like watching like obviously he's voiced by a white person, I understand that, but like let's suspend our disbelief and believe that these are like Asian people. Like
This
watching
is pure representation.
yeah, watching like a poor colored person like run away from the police and make them look like idiots and get away with it. It was so freaking boss as a kid. I was just like, I love this guy. Like, it's lovable scoundrel.
and then he goes on to he goes through all of that, and then he's alone in an alley, and he sees some like homeless children, and he just like unthinkingly feeds them in such a like lovely moment.
Because you know that at some point Aladdin was like some 5-year-old kid who was on his own.
Bro.
He's been through it.
But you feel like this because you connect with the character, because you feel like I saw that and I was like, oh wow, of course Disney's trying to humanize this guy, so that like I normally with Disney films I'm so sucked in and I see it as another reality. I see it as something I'm engaged with. I just didn't get that, and I think if I had, I would feel the same way as you. I'd be like, oh my god, Aladdin gave his bread to a poor child.
I think what this really makes me want to ask is like, what does like the character of Hercules do for you that the character of Aladdin doesn't? I promise you, this isn't going to be Aladdin versus Hercules the discussion, like, because they're both hero's journey films. I want to.
Yeah, I get that.
What is so great about Hercules the character?
It's not the cat. So the thing
is it because he's not poor? Sorry, I'll shut up.
I think you'll find he is. His father is a market worker.
Oh fuck!
His donkey has a broken arm.
Is that the plot of Hercules?
Dude, it's so shit.
Wait, okay, no. I wasn't trying to do a thing. I just haven't seen Hercules for a while. Please go on.
I think my love for Hercules does not stem from the character of Hercules. It stems from the supporting cast. So that I think their strength is what really engages me with it, and also the story undeniably is because of my obsession with Greek mythology as a child, which is why I love it.
Well, I guess I'm just drawn to Aladdin's sort of like wit and like the part when they all pull out their knives and he's like, all this for a piece of bread? Like,
yeah, such
why?
a great line.
It's so funny, but also like his whole conflict in this film about his utter like anxiety in his class and constant feeling of inferiority and like just wanting to like not be viewed as trash and like his arc being about realizing how shallow those goals were, like how maybe being a king and owning loads of like servants and slaves isn't like actually inherently valuable. Like that, I understand how this is.
Anyway.
I think Disney draws very thin characters. I agree with that, but this is the one time where they draw a thin character that like deeply resonates with like my own class anxieties as a kid and like being around kids who were wealthier than me, and I wanted them to like think I was normal, basically. And I really resonate a lot of Aladdin's struggle with that.
I actually didn't realize how much they would deep it, because you in the scenes where he wants to tell Jasmine the truth of his class background, you get a sense that he physically cannot say those words to her, and it's not a matter of anxiety, it's a matter of he can't admit that to himself. And I think like that provides such an interesting contrast between these wonderful, like between that wonderful opening chase scene and then like this deep cultural anxiety in a way. And I think that really fleshes out the character. I think he's great.
He's really hot too.
He's so like
I don't know if he's 16 or 50. How old are these people?
I don't fucking know. He's a proto femboy.
They are all 21 plus.
Do you remember in the Tumblr days that screenshot that went round of Aladdin, and it was like him with his arm on his head, and it was cropped Disney porn.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god.
I was not on Tumblr. I did not see this.
I think next up,
you can move on to other things about the film.
I think next up, I want to talk about Jasmine's introduction. I just very very specifically the very small moment where you're in the Sultan's point of view, the Sultan, her father, and he's walking out into the garden to find Jasmine as a new suitor has arrived, and you're led perfectly into this idea that you're going to get a lavish sort of full shot of Jasmine in all her glory, and instead the tiger just like bounces right into frame and snarls at you, and I felt like the film was going, fuck you, you're not getting that. And then she's just introduced in this really plain wide shot, sitting very comfortably and happily. And it was just a really pleasant, grounding moment, I found. She seemed very comfortable in her own skin, but most of all, I felt like she wasn't being... She's obviously being presented to the audience, but and her character design and all of this stuff will be feeding into her representation. But I didn't feel like I was being presented with this ideal, with this pure archetype. I felt like I was being presented with someone that they wanted to relatively humanize.
I just, from my knowledge and from my past days binge, there is no character that is presented, no Disney princess that is presented as sexualized as Jasmine is, especially towards the end, where she's literally used like a honey trap to distract Jafar and has to dirty talk to him to distract him while Aladdin kind of tries to swoop in and save the day. And I definitely think that's to do with her race. And how, obviously as a white woman, it's not really like my area of expertise, but there is the understanding of that complete trope where white women are seen as innocent and pure and any other woman is just not. And I think that definitely played into how they wrote her character or made her character act, especially towards the end. Just purely based on comparison to other Disney films, I couldn't think of another example where that's happened with a white princess. So, yeah.
Damn. Yeah.
Yeah. I obviously I can't really comment because
you can. I wouldn't have said it unless I wanted you to say what.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, but obviously, as a guy, it's very hard to. Sometimes it's hard to see outside of being a guy. So I can't. But I guess the ending, I see what you mean, and that maybe that is flawed. I guess in the moment when I'm wrapped in the moment of the film, it feels like Jafar is a weird old perv, and she uses that against him and tricks him, and I felt like her and Aladdin felt equals in that moment, and they were outsmarting the whole situation. I get the flaw of it is basically a honey pot situation, how that's bad. So I completely
outwitting him. She's not being clever about it. She's just using the fact that he's horny and gross.
Yeah, it wasn't enough to break the film for me. But I get how that would be a criticism.
I think it's a case of where I think with issues like this, you have to just look at how it is on paper. It's so easy to, because I was the same with Josh. I watched that scene and I was just, you're just involved with the action of the scene, and then but you do at the end of the day have to go, okay, this is a film written and directed by white men. This is a Arabian woman being a sort of temptress and what she's wearing and everything like that. And it's I think it's important, as much as this isn't art, this is also politics and discourse, and you have to examine it sort of in that vein. I think other than this moment, and that's not to say that moment isn't important at all. I really like Jasmine. Another really great moment that feels like one of those lines from a live action Disney remake that they would throw in to be woke, is now, and in this film it just felt so much more organic. The first time Aladdin says, "Do you trust me?" She kind of just goes, yeah, she doesn't really trust him, and it's so much more grounded, so much more genuine. where I feel like, yes, this is a woman interacting with a man she just met. She's into him, but at the same time, she's still got that boundary, and I really liked that moment, and I feel like Jasmine throughout constantly has. I think this is why I like her so much. I feel like there's always a constant line with her character where she would just stop taking shit, if that makes sense. And I feel like there's other moments with Disney princesses, even of this era, where modernly we'll look at that and go like why as a character were you okay with that? I feel like whenever Jasmine has agency, which is essentially throughout the film, unless it's a actual story element out of her control, she's always realistic and relatable.
Like, and just speaking like her dynamic with Aladdin, where the film maybe failed a bit of establishing the Genie's and Aladdin's friendship. Like, they have great chemistry, but I don't really get their friendship. I think like I really truly get why Aladdin and Jasmine are like perfect for each other, and like it was a really sweet moment, similar to the scene in High School Musical where they both identify as being trapped in their like social situations when they both kind of like identify with like feeling oppressed in like specific situations, and like they say the word at the same time and look at each other. Like, it was such, I don't know, from then on I was just completely sold on their relationship throughout, and I really like that the whole arc for Aladdin is like breaking out of the mindset that I can win Jasmine. He just has to like just stop being a dirtbag prince guy. And like that, yeah, that didn't feel like it was beating me over the head with like Disney are bad and we're doing not bad Disney. It just felt like a very natural character arc for someone who has insecurity to like get out of that mindset of I have to like win people and just I don't know. I think
it just felt like a story.
Yeah, I think their dynamic thematically was really satisfying.
Scar, do you have any more thoughts on Jasmine? Do you have anything? Do you have anything you liked about Jasmine?
I liked the bit where she climbed, like where she ran away. I liked the bits of agency that you got to see of her. Like I did appreciate that. I feel like because there are other Disney princesses that have done it better. Like Mulan springs to mind first, especially of that era. But that, you know, but again, that kind of rang to me as like, maybe this is me being skeptical, but you know, a really privileged woman who's like, I have to run away. Oh my god, my life is so hard. And then really she just ends up getting other people in trouble, and because, you know, Aladdin nearly gets his head chopped off because she tries to nick something because she's so stupid she doesn't know you have to pay for apples.
Oh, come on!
I actually love the part when Aladdin's in, this film has so much charm. I love the part when Aladdin's in prison and the monkey's like, dude, this woman like almost got us killed, and Aladdin's like, bro, it was worth it though. It was so funny. Yeah,
also, sorry, another moment that I love from Jasmine was how much she commits to the bit that she's insane. Because first Aladdin's like, she thinks the monkey's the sultan, and then she's like, and then she like goes up to the camel and is like, hello doctor, and it's like so funny. And like I think that's another thing that like Disney girls also don't have, is they don't get to be funny. They don't. Which I feel like she is.
I think that's the problem with this framework of a story. Like, I think with Aladdin, I would love if like this whole film was just like maybe the first act or two, and then we got like a half an hour where like Jasmine, the law has been revoked and Jasmine's allowed to have agency, and like we can just get like a little adventure with them, like everyone just being okay. And like, because like the problem with female characters in these early Disney films is their whole character arc is about like gaining agency by the end. But you never actually get to see them with agency, if that makes sense. So
no, I completely agree.
So now you're seeing a bit more with like things like Brave and Moana. But it would be really nice if like, because like it'd be so fun to see what Jasmine's like after the film, right? And I haven't watched the sequels recently, so maybe they do it. But just seeing her go on adventures and like seeing if she actually is more free or her fight for more freedom, Maybe that's too much to ask for Disney, but I don't know.
I feel like we've earned getting to talk about the Genie. I feel like we've earned it. Scarlett, was there not? Did you not watch You'll Never Have a Friend Like Me and think, okay, this might be the best animated film ever made?
Unfortunately, I can say that I did not. It did not sway me, but I did enjoy it. I enjoyed the Genie's character, just because I think like it was something very new, and it didn't feel like it felt very fresh and but fresh to the film. That's what I liked. I think that's what sets the film apart.
Yeah.
His character and that kind of like his.
What I love about the Genie is how he like exists outside of the film's
He just comes in and breaks the film.
He exists outside of the film's universe. So he's like the character who's gonna. I feel like he's the character specifically written for like the '90s teens in the audience who are gonna get like the cool pop cultural references and like his weird like allusions to like other Disney films that like make no canonical sense, but he just exists outside of every timeline apparently, and that's awesome. I love that. Yeah.
Did you feel like before Genie was introduced, the film didn't really have enough momentum? Go.
Yeah, I think so. I think like I couldn't really. I mean, I think if I was watching it for the first time, I'd be like, I can't really see where this goes. Like, does Aladdin get trapped and then he breaks out of the cave and then he goes and fights Jafar? Like, that was kind of obviously I knew that wasn't what was going to happen because I'd seen it before. But when you introduce the Genie, just because he's so well acted. And, like, I just feel like you can't have a character like that doesn't kind of give some sort of direction. So, yeah, I do agree with that.
Breathe life into it.
Yeah. I was, like, already enjoying the film. And, like, I remember... God, I haven't to the Genie yet. And he is just such a bolt of energy into this film. And, like,
bro,
I was enjoying it. Like,
I was really into it.
Still, like, I wouldn't love this film as much if it wasn't for the Genie. I actually forgot how little of the Genie there actually is in this film.
Yeah,
there's a large part before he's introduced. Yeah,
but he is possibly maybe like one of the few times where the formula of having like the funny, wacky sidekick character actually was fully like incredible and not just like vaguely annoying.
Yeah, exactly. I think resolution is the really important part. None of these other forgettable sidekicks or not even forgettable, but just less integral sidekicks get resolution. And when Genie looks at Aladdin after being so ecstatic about being able to travel the world and like realizes the sadness of missing a friend, like that shit hits really, really hard. But there was another Genie moment I really wanted to talk about.
Jeez, I can't believe I just lost to a carpet or something.
Yes! Yeah! It was literally that. That moment killed me because it's so stupid. So this is a musical. And when me and Josh reviewed High School Musical, we named our 3 favorite songs from it. And unlike High School Musical 2, I think this functions really consistently well as a musical. So I really dug Prince Ali. I don't know why. I know it's literally meant to be this overblown like joke
Evil
of a song.
Yeah.
But dude, it was so fun. Like, it was so crazy.
I think my favorite thing about Prince Ali is that it was kind of nuanced in a way. Like, I feel like as a kid, I just thought being a prince was good. Like, I didn't have forward-thinking political ideologies when I was 5 years old. So I was like, hey, he did it. He's rich now. He can get the girl. But like looking back, the fact that Prince Ali is reprised by the villain at the end to show that this has been a very bad thing Aladdin did,
yes,
is very cool. And actively mentioning slaves in the song, like
I have really, really, really fond memories of. I think the official name is One Jump Ahead, but everyone will know this song as Street Rat. I used to put Fuck you. Fuck you. I have really fond memories of me and my grandparents putting this film on specifically to watch and listen to this number. I think You'll Never Have a Friend Like Me is, of course, the peak in this film of animation in tandem with music, and it being the entire sequence doesn't exist without one or the other. But this is still brilliant, and I think is more important characterization, because this is our protagonist, and I think, like I said before, that these are simple, thin characters, just accentuated with the flair of cinema, and I think this piece is like the peak of that. I adore this. And finally, I love Arabian Nights. I think it's really short, but I think this opening is phenomenal. One of my favorite openings to an animated movie. The reveal of I don't want to call it a castle, the palace, as with the crescendo of Arabian Nights is fucking magical. I just think there's such a wonderful interplay between the colors on screen and the progression of the melody. Something about it seems so artfully put together, and it really reminded me of what was most important to me about this film when I was a child, and that was atmosphere. To me, this was Jungle Book will always be my favorite, but this film's atmosphere is like enchanting, and this is the piece that really brings that home for me. So yeah, those are my three favorite songs. Have you guys got yours ready?
Yeah. So like, I'm pretty much the same as you. My three favorite are "Friend Like Me." I don't need to elaborate on that. Everyone understands why that's an amazing song.
Yeah.
And yeah, "One Jump Ahead." I love that as well. I think it really sold me on the Aladdin character. I didn't grow up with Star Wars because my parents weren't fucking nerds. So "One Jump Ahead" was really like my handsome, roguish, charming Han Solo type character like introduction. So like watching him like fall in, like make fun of police and fall into a brothel and flirt with the sex workers there, and then jump back out and like tricking everyone with the monkey. Like that was just mwah. That was so cool. And the running theme of just everyone really wants to fuck Aladdin throughout the song. I love that. I love that. That's called poetic cinema. Yeah, I agree with you. Arabian Nights. It is such a majestic, grand intro, and it like generally breathtaking cinematography in that moment. Like I got goosebumps when the camera pans up, the voice rises, with the crescendo, and you see the palace and you see the sandy plains, and again the film's visually is at its best when the camera's pulled back and we're seeing this beautiful world that they've constructed. And I agree, atmospheric is the word for it. So yeah, those are my three favorite songs. Like the deep cuts in this aren't really they're cool. They work in the context of the film, but there's no like surprise favorite tracks. Like my favorites are pretty obvious.
Scarlett, what about you?
I think that I agree with you about Arabian Nights, but my favorite bit is when it's not actually the song. I like it when it's like played in the scary bits in the desert, like when it's just an instrumental.
That's that's a really good point.
I really enjoy that, especially like when it kind of transitions into, because one of the bits I really love is the sand lion.
Yeah,
like, or just when that, I know it's not a character, but when it appears, when it's involved, I love the way it's animated. And controversial, I like A Whole New World. I think it's one of the only times that I feel like, oh, maybe they are, well, not the only time, because you have shown throughout this discussion that maybe I am wrong and they do have premise for a relationship, but I think just that's like childish joy, isn't it? Like, I know it's just thrown in so that like little kids could be like, wow, they're going round on a
magic carpet ride.
Isn't that what a Disney movie's meant to be? Like,
Yeah.
just childish joy, and I appreciate that from that song. I think it's fun to sing along to, which is also very important.
Yeah.
And yeah, weird lyrics aside, I appreciate it for what it is, and that's just a song to be chucked in to be the main love song and to make little kids excited. So.
To kind of like respond to what you said about Disney's meant to be about childish joy, like instinctively I do think that's what Disney is, but like this era of Disney we grew up with is exceptionally horny. Like these songs are so
Yeah.
horny. There is
That's
not
so
much like
true.
adventurous wonder. It is just like
I never
people
really
being
thought of
horny and trying to like actualize their horniness.
No,
I didn't want to be the one to bring this up, but this film made me so horny growing up. Like
say
this.
that on the main. You can't say this on your podcast. That is so inappropriate.
All right, I'll edit it out. But the combination of the harems and and Jasmine was too much.
I
for
mean, they're
ad-
over sexualized. Have you ever felt like that watching another? I mean, actually, to be fair, I have. But back to the songs. Yeah, I didn't like any of the others really.
All right. So Scarlett is protesting Aladdin by literally not even naming 3 songs from it when she hasn't even already named Friend Like Me. Damn.
Yeah, because I actually am not the biggest fan of Friend Like Me.
Yeah. Do we think the genie is hot?
It's gonna be really hard deciding which. You guys keep fucking talking.
I'm done. I've said all my thoughts. Recommend good film. Disney's racist, but this is fun.
All right, I'm actually gonna take that as Josh's recommend. No, Josh, do you want to do a proper recommendation?
What is Aladdin? Like, it's not complicated, bro.
Yeah. All right, calm.
Yeah,
yeah, I've said I'm the same. This is Disney. It is great. It is one of the best Disney films. And I would highly recommend it for all of the reasons I've said before. I don't need to go over those again. Scarlett, would you recommend it?
No, I still wouldn't recommend it. Do you know why? I think it's bland. I don't enjoy the characters. I don't enjoy the story progression. I don't enjoy the songs. I think if you're looking for something that's about women's emancipation, then there are actually a plethora of other Disney movies that you can watch, not just the more modern ones. Like, no, I said Mulan already, but that one really hits all the spots. It's fantastic. And, like, I just feel like if you're going to watch a Disney movie, it shouldn't be this one. I'm sorry. No recommend. You've made me see... I see what you're saying, but at the same time, I don't agree. Because at the end of the day, film is about emotional connection, and I do not connect emotionally with this film.
All right, Josh. What albums are we talking about next time, honey?
Next time we're gonna we'll be finishing off the kind of Kanye retrospective we've been doing for most of the year. So we'll be entering the God era. So next time we'll be touching on a kind of redux discussion of the life of Pablo to see how like our perspective has changed after traversing through his entire discography, and then looking at Yay. And then after that we're gonna be talking about Kitty Ghost and Jesus is King, which should be a fun episode. They're both short albums, so we're probably gonna put them in the same episode.
Awesome. It'll be really sad to see the Kanye retrospective go. So yeah, that's the end of Scarlett being on the audio side of the Minority Arts Appreciation Society for the time being. You've been a wonderful guest. We've loved having you on.
Oh, thanks. I tried.
And thank you for making me see the error of my ways with dogs don't wear pants.
I'm sorry I couldn't return the favour and be convinced by your love for Aladdin. But,
I know. You just don't like misogyny, and I can't fault you.
I'd be lying if I said that's the sole reason I dislike this film.
Yeah, thanks, Scarlett. It was super fun having you on. I'm gonna cherish these memories. And yeah, love the artwork you do. We're eternally grateful for it.
Hell yeah!
I always look forward to what the next week of art will be.
Feel like a birthday speech. Thank you.
Aww, I can't wait to see what you do with Aladdin.
Thanks, guy.
But yeah, all right. Thank you very much for listening. So if you're listening on YouTube, if you've enjoyed our podcast, like, and if you want to see more, subscribe. All of our episodes are just basically the same as this, but just about different things. That's how internet content works. So subscribe to see more. If you're listening on Spotify or Google Podcasts, you can follow us as well. And we have social media accounts because this is the 21st century. On Twitter, that will be @ArtsMinority. And on Instagram, it's @MinorityArtsPodcast. We also have an email, and that's minorityartspodcast@outlook.com. And you can email us for suggestions on albums we could talk about, films we could talk about. There's nothing else we talk about. So yeah, those are all your options. Do one. Thank you very much for listening. We've loved having you along for the ride. And yeah, check out Aladdin. It's a great movie. All right, thanks for listening.
Bye.
Yeah. Bye.